The tractor can give long, economical service only when it is given proper care. To keep repairs at a minimum, all parts must be used, and the proper oils, greases, and fuels must be used. A tractor is a piece of fine machinery, but the service it will give depends on the care exercised in its maintenance. An owner's manual of instructions is furnished with every tractor. Study it. Follow it step by step. After every 10 hours of operation, or at the end of every day of use, your manual will suggest inspection of the air cleaner cap to remove dirt or chaff from it. Be sure the screen in the cap is kept free from all chaff or dirt, as clogged holes in the screen will reduce engine power by restricting the flow of air. Daily attention must also be given to the air cleaner oil cup to ensure clean air for combustion. Remove the cup and pour out the dirty oil. Clean the cup thoroughly in kerosene. Refill the cup to the oil level bead with the same grade of oil used in the engine crankcase. Clamp it securely in place. The oil level in the crankcase should be checked daily. For operating on distillate, open the lower petcock in the crankcase and allow the oil to drain down to this point. Then close the lower petcock and open the upper one. Fill the crankcase with fresh oil until it appears at the upper petcock. Close the petcock. And replace the oil cap securely. The oil level for operating on gasoline is checked differently. Open the upper petcock. And fill the crankcase until the oil appears at this point. This difference in checking oil levels is due to the greater dilution of the oil by the use of the lower grade fuel. Water pump lubrication after every 10 hours of operation is very important. Some pumps require a special hard grease which will not melt and mix with the hot water of the cooling system. Consult your manual to see which type grease you should use for your tractor. The rear axle bearings must be lubricated daily because these bearings support the rear axle and rapidly become worn if not lubricated frequently. Be sure to lubricate both bearings. Steering assembly lubrication after each day's operation prevents wear and makes the tractor easier to steer. Consult your manual for the proper method of lubricating such parts as the rear steering shaft bearing, the steering universal, the center shaft bearing, and the upper bolster pivot shaft. Most manuals call for daily lubrication of the clutch release shaft. This not only prevents wear of the shaft, but affords smoother, easier operation of the clutch. Starting crank bearing lubrication is recommended in most manuals every 10 hours because a dirty, worn, or sticky bearing at this point makes it difficult to turn the crank when starting the tractor. After 60 hours operation, or once a week, another group of maintenance items are suggested in your manual. The air cleaner should be removed and cleaned. Completely disassemble it. Wash the parts in kerosene. Be sure to clean the air intake pipe. Clean the oil cup. Fill the oil cup to the proper level with the specified grade of oil and replace it on the air cleaner. Make a regular weekly check of the carburetor air hose for loose fit or damage. If the air hose shows any signs of deterioration, it should be replaced. A worn or loose hose connection allows dirt to get into the engine. When installing a new air hose, be sure all joints are tight. The fan belt should be checked for tension after each 60 hours use. A loose fan belt allows the fan to slip, which causes the engine to overheat. Replace it if badly worn. The radiator fins or shutters should be cleaned out each week, so they may serve their purpose of maintaining the proper engine temperature. Clogged up fins prevent the shutters from working freely and cause the engine to become overheated. The fan hub bearing must be lubricated weekly to prevent wear. A worn bearing allows the fan to become loose and wobbly, causing vibration which may result in its breaking and seriously damaging the radiator. The impulse coupling should be lubricated after every 60 hours of operation with a light oil such as cream separator or sewing machine oil. Apply the oil liberally. The clutch release bearing must be lubricated every 60 hours as instructed in your manual, or it will wear rapidly. When the clutch is released, considerable pressure is applied to the bearing to overcome the spring pressure, so it must be lubricated regularly. The clutch pilot bearing should also be lubricated every 60 hours, as instructed in the manual. After 120 hours operation of the tractor, careful attention should be given to the engine lubricating system. Replace the element in the oil filter and drain and change the oil in the crankcase. First, drain the dirty oil. Replace the drain plug. Then fill the crankcase with a good grade of flushing oil to help remove sludge and any remaining dirty oil. Be sure the tractor is not in gear. Start the motor and allow it to run long enough to circulate the oil well through the motor. Then drain the dirty flushing oil. The oil filter element, which takes out much of the foreign material that is being circulated in the oil, must be replaced each time the oil is changed. Fill the crankcase with new oil until it appears at the upper petcock. Close the petcock. Add an extra quart of oil to compensate for the oil that will remain in the filter system after the motor is started. Replace the oil cap and tighten it securely. After 250 hours operation, or about once a month, there are several important points to be checked. The fuel strainer and sediment bowl should be taken apart and cleaned at least every 30 days. With all shut-off valves closed, remove the sediment bowl and strainer. Clean the strainer and the bowl thoroughly. Next, disconnect the fuel line at the sediment bowl and at the carburetor. Remove the line and blow it out to remove any foreign matter that might obstruct the flow of the fuel. Be sure it's not damaged. Also, blow out the carburetor fuel screen to remove any dust particles or dirt. Be sure the fuel line is reconnected securely at the carburetor and at the sediment bowl. The spark plug should be removed every 250 hours for cleaning and checking of the gap. Care must be taken in using the wrench to avoid cracking the porcelain. Use a wire brush to clean the carbon from the spark plugs, as it is not apt to damage the porcelain and it readily removes the carbon. Consult your manual for the proper clearance of the points for the plugs on your tractor. When adjusting the clearance, always bend the outside wire. Too wide a gap will cause the engine to misfire, and too narrow a gap will cause poor idling of the engine. If the plugs look faulty, they should be replaced with new ones. A bad plug produces a weak spark. Use the wrench carefully to prevent cracking the porcelain. Be sure the cables are securely fastened to the plugs. The magneto breaker point should be inspected once a month according to the instructions in your manual. First, remove all dust from the chamber. Any scale or corrosion on the points can be filed off, but if the points are pitted, they must be removed and dressed by using a carborundum strip or an oil stone. With the points separated by the cam, the clearance should be 12 to 15 thousandths. After 400 hours of operation, most manuals suggest these points for checking. First, the cooling system should be drained and cleaned. Drain all the water from the radiator. Then drain the water from the block. Radiator scale can be loosened and dissolved by chemicals such as washing soda. Instructions in your manual for cleaning the cooling system of your tractor. If a solution of washing soda and water is used, fill the radiator with the solution. Allow the solution to remain in the cooling system through 1 day's work, so it can be heated in order to loosen and dissolve the lime and scale. Then drain the solution from the radiator and the block. A clean cooling system prevents overheating, which results in loss of power and often valve trouble and other damage to the engine. Keep the radiator filled with rainwater if possible, as soft water does not scale as badly as hard water. In cold weather, consult your manual for the amount and type of antifreeze solution to use in the cooling system of your tractor. Engine valves should be checked for clearance after 400 hours. With the engine warmed up, remove the valve cover. Turn the engine over until the valve to be adjusted closes. Loosen the lock nut on the push rod. Then, using a thickness gauge, adjust the tappet to the clearance specified in the instruction manual. Tighten the lock nut when the adjustment is completed. Be careful when replacing the cover to see that no dirt is allowed to get into the working parts. Check the clutch pedal for free movement every 400 hours. In order to maintain the proper clearance between the clutch release bearing and the clutch release levers, the clutch pedal should have a free movement of about 1 inch. Consult your manual for the exact distance of free movement for your tractor. Also, check the brake pedals for free movement and equalization every 400 hours. Again, consult your manual for the amount of free movement recommended for your tractor. Both pedals should have the same amount of free movement to secure brake equalization. The distributor bearing should be lubricated after 400 hours. Fill the oil cup with very light oil. Do not oil this part more often, as excessive oil might work into the breaker point chamber, causing rapid point deterioration. There are several miscellaneous parts that should be lubricated after 400 hours operation. Use a few drops of engine oil on each moving part of the engine control linkage. Also, oil the moving parts of the clutch and brake pedal connections. After every 1,000 hours use, or at least once a year, these operations are recommended. First, the oil in the transmission case should be drained and changed. This safeguards against the accumulation of dust and metal particles in the transmission oil, which could cause damage to the moving parts. Refill the transmission with a good grade of oil. Be sure the transmission case is filled to the proper level as recommended in your tractor manual. The steering worm gear should be checked at least once a year. Use an approved lubricant and fill the worm gear housing until the lubricant covers the top of the sector. The front wheel bearings must be removed, cleaned, and repacked at least every 1,000 hours. Be sure to clean all the dirty grease from the bearings and races with kerosene. Use the lubricant specified in your manual for packing the bearings. Care should be taken to see that this operation is performed regularly because the front wheels operate under very dusty conditions and are subject to considerable wear. To secure maximum life and satisfactory performance from pneumatic tires, keep them properly inflated to the pressure shown in your manual at all times. Underinflation will damage tire cord body and may cause the tire to slip in the rim and tear out the tube valve stem. Overinflation results in excessive slippage, causing rapid tire wear. Remember, care for your tractor according to your operator's manual. It explains all maintenance requirements and routine adjustments which are necessary for the most efficient operation of your tractor and the protection of your tractor investment.